Supposed to talk about health inequalities, and I can tell you a host of statistics that will send a shiver up your spine. Statistics like up to 40% of all Muslim women in this country have described their health as either bad or very bad. Statistics like up to 50% of Muslims live in the most deprived boroughs in this country. Statistics like 32.7% of the Muslim community live in homes that are overcrowded. Statistics like less than 3% of the Muslim community who engage in counseling even get past the first few weeks. Statistics like 2 out of every 3 Muslim teenagers during COVID admitted to feeling suicidal. We're not talking about those who didn't admit it. But my talk is about beyond the statistics, so I'm not going to talk about any more statistics. I'm going to tell you a story. During COVID, during the lockdown, I got a phone call from my younger brother, and he was working in one of the hospitals. And when he called, I could hear in the background not one Quran recitation, but multiple, 4, 5, 6, 7 different Quran recitations going on in the background. I couldn't really hear what he was saying because the number of recitations that were going on in the background sounded like he was in madrasa, and we were in lockdown. So I said, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm in hospital." Why am I hearing Quran recitation in the background? And he said, "I'm in intensive care." That still doesn't answer my question. Why am I hearing so many Quran recitations in the background? He said, a lot of Muslim families, when their loved ones were admitted into intensive care, were buying Quran cubes. And these Quran cubes were playing Quran recitation because the family couldn't be there, so we're just reciting Quran next to the person's bed. I said, how many Muslims are there? Because I can't just hear one recitation, I'm hearing 6, 7. He told me, they're all Muslim. All of them? Yes. What's going on? Are they old? Are they sick? Because no, they're like you and me. Middle-aged, slightly unfit and healthy. People who thought that bulging waist, I'll deal with it in a few years' time. People who thought, it's just diabetes. Everyone in my family has diabetes. People who thought, I'm not going to get my blood pressure checked, can never get an appointment with my GP anyway. He's too busy giving talks and conferences. So I won't check it. People who thought that cancer screening is not something that we do in our community. It just doesn't happen. Doesn't run in my family. And here they were, row after row after row. That is what happens when health inequalities catch up with a community in denial. And that's what we are, a community in denial. The biggest health inequality isn't housing. The biggest health inequality isn't economy. It isn't the structural system of the NHS. You know what the biggest health inequality the Muslims suffer from? It's here. It's in our head. Everything else is fixable. Everything else can be sorted. But if you don't change the mentality that we approach our own health with, if we don't change the way that we tackle physical and mental health, the way that we see the intersection between knife crime and vaping and laughing gas and health down the line, or family structure breakups and health down the line, then we are going to suffer with worse health outcomes exponentially going forward. It's only going to get worse. So why am I telling you this story? I'm telling you this story because Malcolm X had a saying once. He said, if you're not part of the solution, then you are part of the problem. And I have in front of me a room full of people who are most definitely part of the solution. Not only part of the solution, you are probably the linchpin of that solution. Because everyone, doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter how healthy, doesn't matter how wealthy, doesn't matter how detached from reality, they can avoid the doctor their entire life, but they have to pass through your hands. And when they go through your hands, you have a choice. Do you bury, remove all evidence of the health inequalities, of things that could have been prevented, things that could have changed? Or do you take that opportunity and realize that it's a responsibility on you to say what's happening, because you are the canary in the coal mine. You are the ones who know how many of our youngsters are ending up in an early grave because they're so bored out of their brains that the only way they can get their kicks is by driving at 200 miles per hour on roads and killing each other and killing innocent civilians. You are the ones who know how many of them end up in a morgue because of stabbings and shootings, or who are young and end up with heart attacks. You know that. Another brother of mine, he told me if he walks into a room for someone who's had a major heart attack or a shooting, he doesn't even ask the name. He opens the door and just says, "Assalamu alaikum," because it's guaranteed to be one of us. Now that might sound like a generalization, and it is, but it's enough of a wake-up call that we need to do something about it. And you are the ones. You can do this. You have a special place in all hearts. Nobody argues with the funeral directors, right? It's that combination of understanding and realism. I mean, the introduction of the medical examiner system in any other scenario would have been an absolute nightmare. For our community, we would just be on the back end, we'd be like, we don't understand what's happening, how it's happening, why it's happening, and we would feel like we're coming up with obstruction. But this is a great example of how something that needed to change, and our community that needed to modify that change to fulfill our necessities, were able to work together. And I'm sure there were many hiccups on the way, but actually it was much smoother than, to be honest, some pessimists like me expected. So I'll finish on this point. Health inequalities are rife in the Muslim community. We know it, we see it, we feel it. And the ones who have a special role, not the only role, but a very special role in helping us challenge those health inequalities, helping us understand better those health inequalities, more importantly, helping us want to do something about it, are yourselves. There's that old poem by Frost, we all have a rendezvous with death, whether we like it or not. But we also have an opportunity at that rendezvous to give a lesson to those who are living. I hope we will take that up and work in unity together like you are doing today, coming together, learning from each other, growing together, sharing best practice, and with your colleagues from across the spectrum, so that inshallah, when we go to the future, our health will be not only better, but will be something that others will aspire to. Jazakumullah.
So we have two key messages